ゲネシスドライバーレモンエナジーロックオンそうだレモンエナジーアームズ
Hello YouTube, this is Shirley426 and today we have something interesting to review. This is the SHF Kamen Rider Baron Lemon Energy Arms form. So once again, this is an SHF Kamen Rider figure, and this is not exactly a retail nor a premium Bandai. This is, I believe, is supposed to be a Tamashii Nations exclusive. So this is supposed to be one of those figures that they sell only at the specific event as well. And judging by the box, sorry about that. By the box, that definitely looks like how it is, because this is not your typical, even old school style SHF Kamen Rider art box style, and it does say Tamashii Nation 2014. Alright, so I recently obtained this. I think it's been like 1 or 2 months since I have obtained this, because there was someone selling this as second hand, and based on my experience, this had everything in it. There were no issues, there was no parts missing, because usually this figure has one of the most common issues I've seen with this figure, at least in my country, is that a lot of people are selling this with a few parts missing, like the chest plate or a knee plate, but this one actually had everything in it, so I decided to grab one as well. So, this is Kamen Rider Baron from Kamen Rider Gaim. Now, this is a very interesting form slash figure, because I remember Kamen Rider Gaim was one of those series where people thought it's going to be a very low tier series, but actually at the time became one of the most best and popular series at the time as well. So with that, there have some unexpected changes because of that aspect. So originally, this guy is basically the secondary Kamen Rider character, and originally this form you see at the moment was not planned to be, was never even planned to be so. So the second character got the secondary Kamen Rider, and his character got so popular to the point where they actually gave him this upgraded form. This form was never planned, so that is actually pretty interesting. And also, I do like the actor who played Kamen Rider Baron, because it's one of the few cases where, a rare case where he actually wanted to be a Kamen Rider, actor. So he actually got his motorcycle license, and he took the interview as well. And I believe he took the interview for the Super Sentai series, I think it was Gokaiger, to be the Captain Marvelous role. And he actually got both Captain Marvelous role and Baron's, but at the time he could only choose one, so he went with this with the Kamen Rider role as well. Anyway, let's see what we got. So, as usual, let's go over our components. So, first of all, what you get, of course, is obviously the rider himself. Definitely loving this color art style as well, of course. Then again, to some people, this may seem a little bit awkward, because once again, this form was never planned, but was kind of like slapped on. But even in the series, this has shown a good amount of action. So, I say they did pretty well for it, despite what happened. And here are its equipment. So, technically, in this form, he actually changes belts. Now, currently he's using a different driver. Originally he's using a black belt called a Sengoku driver as well. But in mid-series he gets a new belt, which allows him to go into this form as well. I'm having trouble trying to remember the Genesis driver. Yeah, sorry about that. It took me a while to remember the name. To become this form, because he met basically an enemy where he could not defeat with his regular belt, so he got this upgrade. Alright, so here is the Wayne weapon. So the reason why you get 2 of these is because these are one of those few cases where the weapon is well, not few cases, but anymore, but at the time this is a close combat and long range weapon. So when in close combat, obviously you use these 2 blades to attack while holding it, and then if you wanted to go long range, obviously being a bow design, you pull back the handle here to charge up an energy shot. I actually had the DX toy as well, and yeah, this was actually a pretty well done design. And even in the series, yeah, this weapon has been used multiple times as well. So yeah, the only issue is that you would have to constantly swap parts to do certain poses, but other than that, they did a pretty good job. To the fact that now, not that they just extended here, they actually made sure that these parts are actually facing a little bit backwards in terms of an angle. So well done. I have seen someone modify this so that they can pull it back, but I'm not taking that risk. And then once again, we have the Lemon Energy lock seat, but this one is the closed version. The thing is, there's no reason for in this case the rider form to have a closed up version, because when you close it, it transformation closes, it cancels out. And number two, even though he takes out his lock seat and attaches it to this weapon, it technically should be opened up. So yeah, kind of an odd choice. But once again, this is not our first time seeing it. So, but oh well. So let me just put that away. And now hand-wise, here is the things that you have to be a little bit careful here. So apparently the previous user had some difficulty with the hands, to the point where there were some scratches on the hands. My guess is that he wasn't sure which hand was supposed to be meant for, number one, the handle here, and then which finger that he was supposed to use on this handle, on the back handle at the get-go. So which is why I have some scratches in the hands, but that is not a big issue for me. Now here we have one hand for the right hand. This is actually a specific hand to hold the belt. So there is a handle on the belt. Let me just go back here. So let me just put this away now. So on the rider here, you have these two handles. This is the handle that actually moves on the toy. Now this one does not move at all, but this is the handle, and you can push it to the side to activate like a finisher move as well. So that hand was meant for that. And now here we have these two hands. So you can see these are basically the hands that you hold the weapon. So the handle for the main weapon. So this is the sonic arrow, if I remember correctly. And this is where you hold the weapon here on the handle. So that's where, if you want to hold the weapon, you use these hands as well. And now we have these hands where it looks like a trigger finger, but you can see there is like a gap. There is a gap between the fingers here. Now this is where you hold the back handle of the weapon here. So you have to make sure you hold it like this. So there we go. So that is how you're supposed to use it. But once again, not the easiest fit, but it works. And then lastly, we have the most typical hand that is pretty much in every SHF Kamen Rider figure, the open style hands for various poses. So once again, it's technically your free will how to use those hands, but once again, there are sometimes some weapons require specific type of hands to operate. Alright, so now let's go over the articulation really quick and do the overall demonstration. So let's start with the head. I absolutely love the color scheme with the red and silver combination, and the yellow armor is a pretty nice touch. So the head, definitely looking pretty interesting. Now the head base, there is a head base, so if let's say he didn't have this armor on, then I believe only that's left is the red and silver areas. The yellow parts would be gone. So the base helmet was very well designed, and because this form was not really meant for him but got added in mid-series, which is why this design may look a little bit awkward, because this lemon energy form was actually used by a different character called Kamen Rider Duke, and that's the design definitely fits him more than this. But once again, it works to some degree, and definitely looks like he has some headphones on. So head can go down, up, pretty well done. Side to side is possible, and if you force it, 360 is possible, but once again, doesn't really make sense because human inside. And I do like the fact that now this is supposed to be like a carbonated soda concept here in the liquid. So you can see like carbonated liquid, style design, which is also applied inside the eyes, which is pretty cool if you ask me. And then now this is the part I was talking about. A lot of people were selling these without the chest part because they claim that they lost it. So yeah, be careful when you're buying a second hand. Make sure they have at least this part here, because this part does fall off a little bit easily. So if you do ever get one, and there's no reason for you to take this off, so if you ever do, just glue it on. I think that would be a better plan to make sure you don't lose it at all. Now for the arms articulation, you can definitely tell only one side has this big gigantic shoulder armor. Of course you do have some control over it, so yeah, articulation might be tricky, but without the side without the armor, 360 no problem. Going to the side no problem, 360 twist entirely, and the lower arm should rotate on its own as well. So no big deal there. And then bend wise, you get a pretty nice bend there. And then hands are your typical SHF figures where the ball joint is on the arm and the hole is in the hand. Now with this, the shoulder armor luckily is actually connected, well not exactly luckily, but is actually connected to the main body armor. So it's not connected to the shoulder, the arm itself. So you do have some control over it. But once again, going 360 is possible, but you're gonna have to go to the sideways as well. And then the rest is pretty much the same. And once again, you can see there is two hinges so that you can have a little bit of control on the shoulder's height and movement, and the end tip is they're connected by a ball joint. So you do have a little bit of rotation point there, but I believe armor wise, design wise, it's supposed to look like something like this, if I remember correctly. So because there is a front and back, as you can see there. And if you bought Kamen Rider Duke, I believe these armors should be the same except for this symbol. The Kamen Rider Duke should have a different design there. Alright, now looking at the belt here we have the Genesis driver. I believe this is also one, at the time, sold very well in terms of the DX toy. I even own one as well. So you can actually take off the lock seat as well, and if you want to put in a different lock seat, you should technically be able to do so. Now, because this is the lemon form, the bottom section here, the liquid is also yellow. If it was a different rider, definitely would, and a different fruit, it would be a different color there as well. Now, the handles do not move. The handle does not pop out, unlike more recent Kamen Rider figures where they try to replicate certain movement on the belts there. Whoops, I dropped something. There we go. All right. So yeah. And then, despite how big the belt is, I believe one of the issues, or in terms of DX toy design, or initially design was revealed, they thought the belt was a little bit too big. But despite that, you still do get an ab crunch, articulation as well. Side to side is also possible. Now, when handling this figure, the part that might annoy some people would be the back cape section. Now, despite having a cape, which is very notorious for SHF Kamen Riders making the figure lose its balance really easily, this one does not affect at all because it's short and it's not as heavy as you think. But once again, you do have some control where you can move this, like the middle one, all the way outwards. This part does also move around. If you see the series, you might understand why these parts move, is like this, but still, this does not really affect the figure itself. And the side capes also do move side to side. So if you're doing certain poses and these are getting away, you do have some control over it. So the side ones are also connected as ball joints, as you can see on the inside there. So yeah. Because there is a certain figure which I own and never reviewed because I could not get it to stand on its own thanks to its big, giant, fat, heavy cape. So yeah, I hope that I can review it someday, but I doubt myself. Alright, now for the legs, we still get your typical side swivel. Going to the side, less than 90 degrees, that's pretty much the same. Going frontwards 90 degrees, no problem as well. Going backwards, you're going to have to go to the side because of the molding here as well. Alright, and then bend wise, you do get a pretty good bend, and once again, these are one of those figures to be careful of this knee part falling off. So make sure you have all the parts, and if you're getting annoyed by it, just glue it on. So because there's no reason for you to pull this out unless you're customizing or like this. And then feet wise, 360 twist possible. You do get a front and backward movement, and then a very nice pivot joint as well, and toe bend is present, although I don't think a human can do that. Not that angle. Alright, so we've seen the basics of the figure. Articulation is pretty well done, despite how certain parts may look bulky and heavy. This thing does not have certain issues where more recent modern figures do have. So once again, I'll be right back with the demonstration with the arrow, and we'll call it a day. Okay, I'm back. So here we have the demonstration of the Sonic Arrow. So I decided to go with the, the pulling action here, because obviously for this one you just need to put in the hand and you're good to go. Not much to show. But once again, here we have the pose. Now at first it may feel a little bit awkward, but the more I fiddle with it, the more I get used to the overall the arrow shooting pose as well. It's still not perfect because the fact that keep in mind, even if I wanted to do a natural bow stance, the thing is that the length of this part is slightly short, should be longer if I wanted to do so. So this is the best I could pull off. But once again, depending on how you put it, which angle you take a picture of it, it will work if you ask me. And yeah, it works pretty well. And once again, you can attach the Lemon Energy lock seat onto the Sonic Arrow as well. And technically this should be the same size as a regular lock seat. So if you do have any other lock seats, which in this case, if he's using this form and using a different lock seat for the weapon, now that should be closed. So yeah, so you could technically use that as well. And that is pretty much it for the review. So once again, I was lucky to get this at a very good price because it was secondhand, and once again, this is not a retail nor pre-owned Bandai, so this was supposed to be like an event exclusive thing. So I consider myself lucky and able to get this. But once again, if you are looking for this figure, make sure that this thing has everything, all the hands, the weapons, especially the chest plate. So yeah. Anyway, thank you for watching the review. This was a review of the SHF Kamen Rider Baron Lemon Energy Arms. If you guys got any questions or requests, leave a comment below. I still have more stuff to buy and build and make reviews out, so please stay tuned. Until then, see you guys next time.